Hi everybody, and welcome to another Skills and Drills instructional video series segment. Today we are in part 3 of my 4-part series relating to our efforts to find you more distance off the tee. And specifically we've termed these issues power leaks. Power leaks that are keeping you from generating the proper club head speed to get the distance off the tee that you want. Our first 2 segments covered setup and takeaway. So today I want to take that takeaway another step further and call it the backswing to the end of the backswing process. So power leak number 1 in the backswing has to do, if we look at the lower body segment, what we see as a significant power leak with a lot of our players is that the lower body or the legs are much too active on the backswing. And what that means is there's a big lateral move to the right. We'll call it a sway. That's what we're familiar with in the terminology. But that movement laterally to the right where the legs are moving too much backwards. Very difficult to catch up from here to get the proper shift into the ball. In particular, when the ball's on the ground, we have a tendency then to land the club into the ground before the ball, okay? But off the tee, that lower body movement means that we're not really getting a sufficient coil as we differentiate between the upper body and the lower body. So we've got to monitor this back leg, the back foot, and try to keep more of a coiling motion down there and be a little quieter as related to the lateral shift. So back leg angle to the right for a right-hand player, of course. I want you to try to maintain that during the backswing. If you notice, my back leg continues to point more towards the target the way it started. Okay, so that's a little more resistance down there. I'm resisting with my lower body the coiling of the upper body. That's going to create a lot of torque and potential power going forward. Okay, so we'll keep that back leg braced. Okay, an easy drill to kind of help you do that is when you're practicing, just take an extra golf club and lay it to where you're going to use the grip as kind of a brace off your right foot. So just put your foot just inside the grip so your back foot has an angle like so, and just take a series of practice swings and feel that resistance in the backswing. And you can actually hit balls with this. Okay, so we're braced, ready to move through. Okay, so there's a lower body segment of power leaks for the backswing. Upper body now has to do more with from this point forward. So we're going to talk about how the club gets positioned swinging back with the upper body, the arm swing, how the club comes and settles at the top of the swing. Okay, so primarily we're going to deal with defining the width of our swing. Biggest power leak, one of the biggest power leaks we see is at the top of the swing. We have a very narrow radius with the circle. Golf swing being a circular motion. We have the arms narrow radius as opposed to wide radius. The elbows are spread. The arms get behind our head too much. Okay, this is a recipe for disaster, and typically how you're going to recover from that is when we get the top of the swing with a narrow top of the swing position, elbows spread. We're going to then, to catch up, typically we're going to go ahead and cast the club. Okay, so we're going to try to teach you what it feels like to have a wide top of the swing arc. Okay, so when you get to the top, I want you to have the sense that your arms are pushing the club outward. Let's put your hands at about a 10 o'clock position. Okay, feel like your right hand and arm are pushing on your left thumb on top of the grip, pushing outward. Okay, so that is a very significant difference in potential power coming into impact compared to that motion there, okay? Good drill for you there. Just take your position comfortably, lay the club out front, and just lay the club on your right shoulder. Let your arms just relax. What I want you to do in this position is then just bend over like a golf stance. Turn your upper body, simulate a top of the swing position. Push the arms out like we just described, and then go ahead and finish your swing, okay? Believe it or not, you can hit balls that way too, okay? So, good exercise. Get the sense of where you would be. This would be an incorrect position, but we're going to get you comfortable in front of the ball here. Turn, push, swing, okay? That's an excellent one, okay? The other position relative to the upper body, good positions at the top of the swing or the end of the backswing, has to do with something we touched on very briefly last week, the wrist angles, okay? We've got to have the club face in a very strong position at the top, and that's going to be promoted with a good left wrist angle being flat and a right wrist angle being cupped, okay? The opposite normally occurs, what I see, a left wrist cupped, right wrist flat, okay? What that does is it opens the club face, okay? When the toe is pointing down, the club is open. That's a weak position, hard to square that impact for potential distance, okay? Easy one here. Take a 12-inch ruler, stick it underneath your wristwatch. It's good for chipping too, and putting as well, okay? Get a sense and feel for when you get that club at the top of the swing, what that wrist joint feels like when it's flat, okay? If you're resisting too much, you're going to feel a little flex in that ruler, okay? A wooden ruler would be even better, okay? So stick that ruler underneath your wristwatch to get a feeling for that flat wrist, which is a much stronger position to get you that potential distance, okay? Next week, we're going into the forward swing elements now. We got some great stuff to talk about there to get you a few more yards off the tee. Until then, thanks for coming.